ओके। हेलो दोस्तों, आप सभी को अ, बहुत दिनों के बाद ना मैंने फिर से मतलब पढ़ने को सोचा कि भाई बहुत दिन हो गए यार, पढ़ना शुरू करते हैं। तो आज के मैं शुरुआत कर रहा हूँ आज से नई चैप्टर, मतलब सॉरी, नई चैप्टर तो कहेंगे, नई चैप्टर के साथ साथ नई बुक। बुक का नाम है हाउ टू डिसाइड सिंपल टूल्स फॉर, क्या है, हाँ, हाउ टू डिसाइड, ये बुक है बाय, ऑथर का नाम मुझे याद नहीं है, हम देखेंगे कभी बात करेंगे। लेकिन अभी मैं बात आता हूँ डायरेक्टली चैप्टर चैप्टर नंबर 1 पे आते हैं। तो आज से हम शुरुआत करेंगे एंड जो भी आज के बाद जो भी मैंने अपलोड करूँगा ना इसमें आएगी, उस सारे को ना एक ही प्लेलिस्ट में हम रखेंगे ताकि हमें समझ में आए कि भाई एक ही जो चैप्टर, एक ही सॉरी, एक ही जो बुक की जो कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, जो चैप्टर्स होंगे ना वो एक ही में ही रहेंगे, ठीक है। तो बहुत आसान भी होगा वो ढूंढने के लिए। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं, मैं पढ़ने वाला हूँ। तो पहली चैप्टर की जो क्या सब्जेक्ट है, टाइटल है, दैट इज रिजल्टिंग। रिजल्टिंग भाई आपको तो पता ही हो चल रहा होगा कि भाई रिजल्टिंग से क्या है। तो विदाउट एनी वेस्टिंग एनी टाइम मैं डायरेक्टली शुरुआत करना चाहूँगा इसको। रिजल्टिंग आउटकम्स इन द rear view mirror may appear larger than they are. Okay, all of the exercises in this book are designed to help you gain insight into the way you process information. For you to get the most out of them, it's important that you go with your first instinct when answering rather than trying to figure out the right answer. There are no right or wrong answers, just insight into how to think. जो ओपन फर्स्ट है कि imagine you quit your job to take a position at a new company. The job turns out great. You love your co-workers, feel fulfilled in your position, and within a year you get promotion. Was it a good decision to quit your job and take new position? Yes. मेरी तरफ तो यस है। आपका क्या है तो आप भी कहिएगा अपने आप से आंसर। दूसरी है कि इमेजिन यू क्वाइट योर जॉब टू टेक ए पोजीशन एट ए न्यू कंपनी। A new job turns out to be a disaster. You are miserable at the company and within a year you have been laid off. भाई जाहिर सी बात है, what is it a good decision to quit your job and take new position? नहीं। ये तो भाई, अगर आपको जॉब मिल रहा है एंड आप जॉब ज्वाइन करने के बाद अगर जॉब से आप कुछ दिनों के बाद क्विट हो रहे हो तो ऐसी जॉब नहीं चाहिए। तो ऑथर कहते हैं, I am guessing your God told you that in the first case the decision to quit your job was good and in the second case the decision was bad. Does not feel does not it feel like if the job works out great, it must have been a great decision to quit your old job, and if it does not work out, it must have been a bad decision. The thing is, in neither case did I give you any meaningful information about the process used to arrive at that decision. I gave you only two pieces of information, a bare bones, an identical description of what went into the decision, and second, how to decision turned out. Even though you don't have any detail about the decision process, when I tell you how things turned out, it feels like you really know something about whether the decision was good or bad. And this feeling that the result of the decision tells you something significant about the quality of the decision processes is so powerful that even when the description of the decision is identical, you quit your job and take a new position, your view of that decision changes as the quality of the result changes. You can spot this phenomenon across all sorts of domains. You buy a stock, quadruple, it quadruples in price. It feels like a great decision. You buy a stock, it goes to zero. It feels like a terrible decision. You spend 6 months trying to land a new client or customer. They become your biggest account. It feels like a great use of your time and great decision. And second, you spend that same 6 months trying to land the client and you never close the deal. It feels like a waste of time and a terrible decision. You buy a house. When you sell in 5 years, you get 50% more than you paid for it. Great decision. You buy a house. When you sell a 5 years, the house is underwater. Terrible decision. You start doing CrossFit, and after the past 2 months, you have lost weight and gained muscle mass. Great decision. But if you di- uh, dislocate your shoulder within the first 2 days, it feels like a terrible decision. In every domain, the outcome tails is waging the decision dog. There is a name for this resulting. When people result, they look at whether the result was good or bad to figure out if the decision was good or bad. Psychologists call this outcome bias, but I prefer the more intuitive term resulting. We take this resulting shortcut because we can't clearly see whether the decision was good or bad, especially after the fact, but we can clearly see if the outcome was good or bad. The resulting is way to simplify complex assessments of decision quality. The problem, the simple is not always better. Decision quality and outcome quality are, of course, correlated but not perfectly. At least not in most decisions we make, and certainly not when we have only one try at that decision. The relationship between the two can take a long time to play out, resulting a mental shortcut in which we use the quality of an outcome to figure out the quality of a decision. Okay, in a single instance, I quit my job and it turned out horribly. It's hard to say if a bad outcome or a good one was because of the quality of the decision. Sometimes we make good decisions and they turn out well. Sometimes we make good decisions and they turned out poorly. You can run a red light and get through the intersection unscathed. You can go through a green light and get in an accident. This means that working backward from the quality of a single outcome to figure out whether a decision was good or bad is going to lead to some poor conclusions. Resulting can make you think that running red lights is a good idea. A necessary part of becoming a better decision maker is learning from experience. Experience contains the lessons for improving future decisions. Resulting causes you to learn the wrong lessons. ओके, अगेन इस चीज को मैंने फिर से मुझे रीडिंग करना चाहिए, अच्छा लगा बहुत। क्या है कि a necessary part of becoming a better decision maker is learning from experience. Experience contains the lessons for improving future decision. Resulting causes you to learn the wrong lessons, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट सेकेंड है द शैडो ऑफ रिजल्टिंग। रिजल्ट की शैडो क्या है? To be fair, in the first exercise, I did not give you enough information to figure out whether the decision was good or bad on its merits. Maybe your mind just fills in the blanks when there is not much to go on. Like what happens with some visual illusions. That is not to say that resulting leads you to good conclusions under those circumstances. We would all learn better if we did not auto-fill those blanks because we happen to know the outcome. But maybe resulting is confined to situations when you don't have much information about the decisions. Does our tendency to result disappear when we are not operating in an information void? Let's do another example in which we fill in some of those blanks to find out. First, you buy an electric car, okay, and you love it. It's an awesome car manufactured by a tech genius widely hailed as a visionary based on your experience with the car. You buy stock in company. After 2 years, the company stock soars and your investment has increased in value 20-fold. Rate how you feel about the quality of decision to invest on a scale of 0 to 5, or where 0 is the terrible decision and 5 is a great decision. ओके इसमें मैं ग्रेट डिसीजन दूंगा. ओके रीजन बिकॉज मेरे हिसाब से वो जो इलेक्ट्रिक कार मैंने खरीदी है वो मेरे हिसाब से वो बनाई गई है एंड जो टेक जीनियस के हिसाब से मतलब वो बनाया है एंड उसमें मैंने पैसा लगाया एंड बाय द ओवर द टाइम उसमें से 20 फोल्ड मुझे पैसा मिल रहा है. तो आई हैव ग्रेट डिसीजन. मुझे लग रहा है कि भाई आई विल ग्रेट डिसीजन. ओके मैंने आउट आउट ऑफ 5 स्टार से मैं 5 स्टार देने वाला हूँ इसमें. ओके एंड दूसरी वाला है कि यू बाय एन इलेक्ट्रिक कार एंड यू लव इट. इट्स एन ऑसम कार. ठीक है तो मैन्युफैक्चर्ड बाय ए टेक जीनियस वाइडली हेल्ड as a visionary based on your experience with the car. You buy stock in the company. After 2 years, the company out of the business and you have lost your investment. Rate how you feel about the quality of the decision to invest on the scale of 0 to 5, where 0 is terrible decision and 5 is a great decision. I think इसमें मैं 0 दूंगा decision को because मैंने देखा कि भाई मेरे हिसाब से जो भी वो कार कस्टमाइज हुई है मेरे हिसाब से एंड जीनियस वाइडली वो टेक मैन्युफैक्चर की है. लेकिन मैं उस चीज को देख के ना वो उस कंपनी को मैंने जज किया कि भाई ये कंपनी मुझे आने वाले टाइम पे मुझे रिटर्न देने वाले. बट ऐसा नहीं हुआ. तो दिस इज बाय माय अकॉर्डिंग टू मी मेरा है कि भाई दिस इज अ टेरिबल डिसीजन फॉर मी. तो नेक्स्ट क्या है ऑथर क्या कहते हैं देखते हैं. If you are like most people, you interpreted the detail about why you bought the stock in a different light depending on whether the outcome was good or bad. For the good outcome, you most likely interpreted the details of the decision to invest in a more positive light. You had personal experience with the product, and that should count for a lot. After all, if you love the car, it's likely other people will. Plus, the tech genius is known to be successful. So, if he is running the company, is it likely to be a good investment? But when the company turns out to be a dude, the poor outcomes can make you see those same details in a different light. Now it is more likely that your reasoning includes how picking a stock based on your personal experience is not a substitute for real due diligence. Are they making a profit? Can they? What's their debt burden? Will they have access to capital until they achieve profitability? Can they keep up with the demand and increase their manufacturing capacity? Maybe you were such a happy consumer because they were losing buckets of money on every cell. This is, of course, not limited to investment decisions. You quit your job to join a promising startup because it offers you equity. It ends up as the next Google. Great decision. You quit your job to join the promising startup because it offers you equity, and it fails after a year, and you end up out of work for 6 months and you run through your savings. Terrible decision. And you pick a college because you want to go to the same school as your high school sweetheart. You graduate with honors, marry your high school sweetheart, and land an amazing job. Picking that school feels like a great decision. You pick a college because you want to go the same school as your high school sweetheart. Okay? Sorry, it's memory. Okay, the high school sweetheart. Within 6 months, you have broken off. You decide to change measures, and the school does not have a good program in your new major. You hate the town the school is in, and by the end of the first year, you have transferred. Picking that school feels like a terrible decision. देख सकते हो भाई. ओके, आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, आपको सिर्फ सुनना है. ओके. In all of these cases, the quality of the result filters how we view the decision. Even we have identical details about the decision process because the quality of the outcome drives how we interpret those details. This is the power of resulting. Hmm. When the outcome turns out poorly, it's easy to focus on details that suggest that decision processes was poor. We think we are seeing the decision quality rationally because the bad process is obvious. But once the outcome is believed, we discount or reinterpret the information about the decision quality because the outcome drives us to write a story that fits the ending. The quality of the outcome casts a shadow over our ability to see the quality of the decision. Now, coming to the best part, that is outcome, डिसीजन क्वालिटी. देखो यार, जितने भी अभी मैंने रीडिंग करा उसमें क्या था कि जो हमारी जो डिसीजंस होते हैं ना, दैट विल बी चेंज्ड विल बी चेंज्ड अकॉर्डिंग टू द रिजल्ट. सपोज देखो, मैं एक जॉब कर रहा हूँ. ओके, मैं एक जॉब कर रहा हूँ एंड एक नई कंपनी में मैं एक जॉब में हूँ, कर रहा हूँ, मेरी ऑनगोइंग चल रही है. एंड और एक न्यू कंपनी मुझे अप्रोच कर रही है कि भाई हमारी कंपनी में ज्वाइन करो एंड हम इतने इतने इक्विटी के साथ आपको यहाँ पर हम देंगे, स्टार्टअप करेंगे मिलके. ओके, आपने देखा कि भाई ये आगे जाके एक गूगल की तरह एक अच्छी कंपनी बनने वाली है, तो आपने उसमें क्या आपने उसमें डिसीजन लिया कि भाई उस कंपनी में जाओगे. एंड एक साल के बाद वो आपका भी अच्छा साबित हुआ कि भाई उसमें से आउटकम्स अच्छे आने लगे हैं. ठीक है, तो आपका ये बेस्ट डिसीजन था. लेकिन अगर वही प्रोसेस होगा कि आप एक जॉब में हो एंड दूसरी कंपनी आके आपको ऑफर करती है, लेकिन एक साल के बाद उस जो दूसरी कंपनी जो आपको ऑफर कर रखी थी वो कंपनी डूब गई है एंड आपका आप जो भी पैसा या जो भी एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे थे उस कंपनी से, आप उस चीज को आपको मिला नहीं है. तो आपको क्या लगेगा? दैट इज द रोस्ट डिसीजन, आपको लगेगा ऐसा. बट इसमें क्या खेल है? देखो, प्रोसेस तो सेम है लेकिन इसमें सिर्फ रिजल्ट का ही डिफरेंट है. अगर रिजल्ट सही हुआ तो आपका डिसीजन ग्रेट है, अगर रिजल्ट बुरा हुआ तो आपका डिसीजन बैड है, रोस्ट है. दैट्स द मीन्स. ओके, तो अभी आते हैं नेक्स्ट, दैट इज आउटकम के ऊपर। वो भी इसके अंदर ही आती है, चैप्टर नंबर 1 के अंदर आता है। तो आउटकम क्या है? आउटकम डिसीजन क्वालिटी। We want outcome quality to align with decision quality. We want the world to make sense in this way, to be less random than it is. In trying to get this alignment, we lost sight of the fact that for most decisions, there are lots of ways things could turn out. There are more possible features than the one that actually happens. Okay, there are more possible features than one that actually happens. Okay, experience is supposed to be our best teacher, but sometimes we draw a connection between outcome quality and decision quality that is too tight. Doing so distort our ability to use those experiences to figure out which decision were good and which were bad, resulting makes our crystal ball cloudly. ओके, इसमें एक दिया है कि एक लिखने को एक एक्सरसाइज है। वो क्या है कि नाउ दैट यू नो व्हाट रिजल्टिंग इज एंड थिंक अबाउट ए टाइम इन योर लाइफ व्हेन यू रिजल्टेड, यूज द स्पेस बिलो टू डिस्क्राइब द सिचुएशन। ओके, ये कह रहा है आपके ऐसे आपके जो रिजल्टिंग आपने कहा था उसके हिसाब से आपकी कौन सी एक सिचुएशन ऐसी है जो कि इस चीज को मेंशन डिस्क्राइब कर रही है। तो मैं आपको एक किस्सा कहता हूँ मेरे लाइफ में। देखो, मेरे हिसाब से मुझे इतना तो याद नहीं है कि मैं क्या ऐसा सिचुएशंस मैंने फेस करा है, बट हाँ, कभी कभी मेरे साथ हुआ है ऐसा, मेरे साथ हुआ है मेरे लाइफ में कि कभी कुछ ऐसे चीजें मैंने खरीद लेता हूँ जो कि वर्तमान में तो मुझे अच्छे लगते हैं कि भाई हाँ यह बहुत अच्छा है, ये बहुत अच्छा रहेगा मैं आने वाले टाइम में। लेकिन जो मेरे पास वो आने के बाद कुछ दिनों के बाद यूज करने के बाद बहुत सारी चीजें मुझे लगने लगते हैं कि अरे यार, दीज आर द ऑल द वेस्ट ऑफ मनी। ओके, एंड वही सिर्फ यहीं पर ना एक छोटा सा रुपया, मतलब चीप प्राइस का एक चीज लेके आया, एंड बाय द टाइम वो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगने लगा, एंड मुझे लगा कि भाई आई विल डू माई बेस्ट डिसीजन। ओके, अकॉर्डिंग टू द रिजल्टिंग द सेम चीज है ना, रिजल्टिंग के हिसाब से मैंने अपना डिसीजन भी चेंज कर दिया। हाँ, दिस इज सिचुएशन। लेकिन ऐसी कोई नहीं ऐसी कोई बड़ी चीज नहीं हुई है जिससे मैं आपको कह सकूं कि इस हिसाब से मेरी सिचुएशन है कि रिजल्टिंग है। नहीं, ऐसा नहीं हुआ है आज तक मेरे साथ ऐसे। नेक्स्ट है सॉरी, उसके बाद है कि इफ यू वांट सम एग्जांपल्स, गो बैक टू द वेरी वेरी फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन एंड आई आस्क्ड यू what were your best and worst decisions of the last year. The point of having you write those down in the most of people don't actually think much about their best and the worst decision. They usually start by thinking of their best and the worst outcomes and work backward from there. अगर देखो यहाँ पर कह रहे हैं कि मतलब कि अगर तुम्हें और भी एग्जांपल्स चाहिए तो भाई आप पहले जाओ एग्जांपल के पहले जो ना जो इंट्रोडक्शन से पहले एक पेपर था, ओके, जिसमें वो ऑथर कहते हैं उसमें आपकी जो इस साल की कौन सी ऐसी डिसीजन है वो बेस्ट डिसीजन है, एंड इस साल की कौन सी रोस्ट डिसीजन है, लास्ट ईयर की कौन सी बेस्ट डिसीजन थी और कौन सी रोस्ट डिसीजन थी, आपको वो सारे आपको लिखने हैं। ओके, दैट्स द ड्यू टू द रिजल्टिंग। ठीक है, रिजल्टिंग मोस्ट काम करता है। ओके, अभी हम देखें कि शैडो ऑफ द क्या शैडो ऑफ रिजल्टिंग। नाउ कमिंग टू द लॉक बॉक्स। लॉक बॉक्स क्या है? The for any single decision, there are different ways the future could unfold. Some better, some worse. When you make a decision, that decision makes certain paths possible, even if you don't know where they lead. And the other impossible decision you make determines which set of outcomes are possible and how likely each of those outcomes is, but it does not determine which of that set of outcomes will actually happen. तो लॉक क्या है भाई? What is lock? Lock exert its influence between your decision and which of the possible paths you end up on. It is the element you have no control over that determines which of the possible outcomes you actually observe in the short run. ये कहते हैं कि लॉक के ऊपर आपकी कोई आपको उसके ऊपर कोई आप उसे कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. There are different possibles, various possibilities of the future unfolds. Okay, being a better decision maker means being a better predictor of the set of possible futures. This book is designed to sharpen your skills, getting you closer to having a crystal ball. But as fortune tellers correctly warn us, the future appears hazy because the way the future will eventually unfold is always uncertain. In other words, there is an important factor that influences the way our lives turn out: luck. Luck is what intervenes between your decisions, which has a range of possible outcomes, and the outcome that you actually get. Because any decision determines only the set of possible outcomes, some good, some bad, some in between. Uh, this means good outcomes can result from both good or bad decisions, and bad outcomes can result from both good and bad decisions. We can think about the relationship between decision quality and outcome quality like this. कि देखो, एक बॉक्स है, चार बॉक्सेस हैं, एंड पहले बॉक्स है दैट इज गुड गुड. ओके देखो यार, एक बॉक्स है, कैसे बताऊं आपको. हाँ, एक बॉक्स है, इसमें गुड है, गुड बैड, गुड बैड. ओके, जहाँ जिस बॉक्स में गुड गुड होगे, योर रिवार्ड अच्छा ही होगा. अगर गुड बैड हो गया तो बैड लॉक के ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा. अगर बैड गुड हो गया, बैड डिसीजन क्वालिटी एंड गुड क्वालिटी इन आउटकम, देन डॉम लॉक. अगर बैड डिसीजन विथ बैड आउटकम तो जस्ट डेस्परेट. ओके, कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला उसमें. दिस इज द बॉक्स लॉक आई थिंक. Okay, an earned reward. This is the box one. Reward comes when you make a good quality decision that results in good outcome. Like when you proceed through a green light and get through the intersection safely. Okay, this is the box one. And box two की बात करें, dumb log. That is, dumb luck comes when you make a poor quality decision that turns out well. You can be waiting at a traffic light and fail to notice the light has turned green because you are deeply entranced by the world's most important tweet. If while you are sitting there failing to proceed through the intersection, you happen to avoid getting an accident with a car whose driver ignores the red light in their direction and barrels through the intersection. That does not make looking at Twitter while driving a good decision. That's just dumb luck. Next is bad luck. Comes when you make a good quality decision that turns out poorly. You can proceed through a green light and get in an accident with someone turning into traffic. That's a bad outcome, but it was not because your decision is follow the traffic law was poor. Next, last box, that is just desserts, means making a poor quality decision that results in a bad outcome, like running a red light and getting in an accident. Obviously, there are plenty of examples of all four of these categories in everyone's decision making history. Sometimes your great decisions turn out great, other times bad lucks get into the way. Sometimes your bad decisions turn out horribly, rather, other times you get lucky. But resulting can cause you to lose sight of the role of luck in how things turn out. Once we know what the outcome is, we often treat things as if there were only year-end rewards or just desserts. But luck and the dumb luck recedes into the shadows. Now coming to the outcome and decision quality. ओके, ये इसको मैंने आपको समझा दिया है, ये बॉक्स ब्लैक बॉक्स ईयर अंडर रिवॉर्ड को गुड गुड होगा तो सही होगा, अगर बैड डिसीजन एंड गुड गुड आउटकम दैट इज द डम लॉक एंड बैड डिसीजन बैड लॉक दैट इज जस्ट डेजर्ट्स, गुड डिसीजन बैड आउटकम दैट इज बैड लॉक, ठीक है. So when it comes to learning from experience, those shadows can cause you to learn a lot of bad lessons. When you make a decision that has only a 10% chance of a bad outcome, you will by definition get a bad outcome 10% of the time. And thanks to the resulting that 10% of the time, you are in danger of thinking the decision was bad after the fact, even though it had a 90% chance of working out. It was a good decision, but your experience will have taught you not to make decisions like that again in the future. This is the cost of resulting. ओके इसके बाद एक एग्जांपल दिया है, कुछ एक्सरसाइज है, दैट इज नाउ लेट्स गेट यू फ्रॉम अंडर द शैडो ऑफ रिजल्टिंग बाय फिलिंग इन an all the cells in the matrix with examples from your own life. First, think of the time in your life when things worked out well and you think your decision making was also good. Briefly describe the situations in the year and reward cell below. Next, think of time in your life when things worked out poorly and you think your decision making was good. Briefly describe the situations in the bad luck cell below. Next, think of the time in your life when things worked out well and you think your decision making was pretty poor. Briefly describe the situations in the dominant low cell below. Finally, think of the time in your life when things worked out pretty poor and you think your decision making was also pretty poor. Briefly describe the situation in the dust, just desert cell below. Okay, this is all about the log box, and now in the fourth section of the chapter number 1, that is when bad things happen to good decisions and vice versa, and pulling effort for outcome, pulling effort outcome quality and डिसीजन क्वालिटी. तो इसमें कुछ एक्सरसाइजेस लिखे हैं तो उसके ऊपर आपको रेडी कर देता हूँ ताकि जो आप कुछ एक्सरसाइज करने वाले हैं ना उसके ऊपर तो आपके लाइफ के हिसाब से आप उसमें आंसर लिखिएगा. ओके, तो पहले है नाउ लेट्स डिग इनटू द पेयर ऑफ डिसीजंस यू आइडेंटिफाइड इन व्हिच द क्वालिटी ऑफ द डिसीजन it did not align with the quality of the eventual outcomes, bad luck or dumb luck. First is, what did you identify as your bad luck outcome? Describe some of the reasons you think your decision making was good despite the bad outcome. Those reasons can include, for example, the probability of that bad outcome or any set of the outcomes that were undesirable occurring, the information that went into making that decision, or the bad quality of the advice you sought. Next, the list at least 3 reasons why you got the bad outcome despite your decision making being good. That is, what were some of things outside your control or things you did not anticipate in your original decision process. Next, what are the least 3 other ways things might have turned out given the decisions you made? दूसरी क्वेश्चन है कि दैट इज व्हाट डिड यू आइडेंटिफाई as your dumb luck outcome? Describe some of the reasons you think your decision making was poor despite the good outcome. List at least three reasons why you got the good outcome despite your decision making being poor. That is, what where some of the things outside of your control or things you did not anticipate in your original decision process. What are at least three other ways things might have turned out given the decisions you made? Okay, the third question here है कि which was easier to think of an example of bad luck or dumb luck? Circle one, bad luck और dumb luck. I think मेरे हिसाब से मेरे हिसाब से क्या कौन सा bad luck और dumb luck? I think bad luck. भाई अच्छे कर रहे हो, सारे अच्छे चीज कर रहे हो, लेकिन लास्ट में अगर आपकी आउटकम सही नहीं होती तो आपकी बैड लक. ओके, व्हाई डू यू थिंक दिस इज ओके? मैंने भी ये कह दिया कि दिस इज मोर डिफिकल्ट देन द अदर. ओके, if you are like the most people, it's easier to blame bad luck for a bad outcome than it is to credit good luck for a good outcome. When bad things happen, it's comforting that it might not be your fault. Luck lets you off the hook, allowing you to still feel good about your decision, making despite an undesirable result. It gives you an outcome that helps you your self-esteem alone, letting you view yourself in a positive light despite things not working out. On the other hand, taking credit for good outcomes feels good if you allow for the role of luck in creating your positive result. You forgot the as awesome feeling you get from feeling smart and in control. When it comes to good outcomes, luck gets in the way of your self narrative. In order to become a better decision maker, it's imperative to actively explore all four of the ways that decision quality and outcome quality relate to each other. Left to our own devices, we will notice some of the bad luck but overlook most of the dumb luck. होता है हमारे साथ, कभी कभी बैड लक भी होता है, कभी कभी डम लक भी होता है कि भाई हम रोस्ट डिसीजन लिए हैं लेकिन हमारी आउटकम अच्छी आ रही है. ओके, and it is not easy to be willing to give up the credit that comes from the feeling like you made good things happen, but it is worth it in the long run. Small changes in how much you notice the luck that you would otherwise look overlook will have a big influence on the way your life turns out. Those small changes act like compounding interest that pays big dividends on your future decision makings. Experience can teach you a lot about how to improve your decision making, but only if you listen well. Developing the discipline to separate the quality of the result from the quality of the decision can help you the figure out which decisions are worth refuting and which are not. In the last I think subsection of क्या है यार, ओके, रिजल्टिंग देखते हैं क्या होता है. रिजल्टिंग नेक्स्ट है, सबसेक्शन 5 चैप्टर 1 की है. Resulting other impact on learning. Don't wait for decision errors to find learning opportunities. ओके, ओके, इसके बाद मैंने एंड करने वाला हूँ, नहीं तो बहुत ज़्यादा लंबी वीडियो हो जाएगी. ठीक है, तो इसके बाद when you overfit decision quality to outcome quality, you risk repeating decision errors that, thanks to luck, preceded a good outcome. You may also avoid repeating good decisions that becomes of luck did not work out. Resulting has the biggest effect on learning when outcome and decision quality are misaligned. Less obviously, but no less importantly, there are lessons to be learned from earned rewards that are easily overlooked. यहाँ पर एक ऑथर कुछ क्वेश्चंस दिए हैं, दैट इज गो बैक टू द टेबल यू filled out earlier in this section. What did you identify as your earned rewards outcome? Describe some of the reasons you think your decision making was good. Those reasons might include your assessment of the probability of that bad outcome occurring on any set of the outcomes that were undesirable. The information that went into making the decision or the quality of the advice you sought. Now, take some time to think about what could have been better about the decisions. Some questions to consider. Could you have gotten more better information before deciding? Yes. Could you have decided more quickly? No. Like sometimes नो नो ये तो नहीं होगा, नहीं नहीं ऐसे नहीं करता मैं. Could you have taken more time with the decision? Yes, ज़्यादा टाइम लेता हूँ. Was there information you learned after the fact that you could have known beforehand that might have changed your decision? Hmm. Yes. Uh, were there even better outcomes possible than the outcome you got? Yes. If you had made a different decision, could you have increased the probability of those better outcomes occurring? Yes. Can you think of any reasons why you would make different decisions if you had to do it over again? Bec- okay, because आप देखो यार, एक चीज को कितना बार करोगे, बार बार करोगे. हाँ माना कि दिस इज, अगर एक चीज को बार बार करते हो तो यू मेक मास्टर इन दैट थिंग. लेकिन एक ही चीज को कितने बार करोगे तो दूसरी चीज नहीं ट्राई करो ना. ठीक है, दैट इज द माई माई जैसे मैं मानता हूँ. इवन इफ यू वुड लाइक कम टू द सेम डिसीजन, कैन यू थिंक द वेज कुड इम्प्रूव योर डिसीजन प्रोसेस इफ यू हैड टू डू इट ओवर अगेन? हाँ यस, आई विल. मैंने मेरा अपना बेस्ट देंगे अगर वही सेम हो रही है हमारे लाइफ में डिसीजन, तो आई गिव माई बेस्ट. ओके, सेकंड क्वेश्चन है कि यूज द स्पेस बिलो रिफ्लेक्ट ऑन एनी ऑफ योर यस रेस्पॉन्सेस. अभी जितने भी क्वेश्चंस मैंने किए उसमें से जितने भी यस, जो भी यस कह रहे हो आप, उसमें से आपको कुछ एक एक को लेना है, इसमें आपको लिखना है. ठीक है. तो थर्ड है कि exploring those cases in which decision quality and outcome quality align is just as important as exploring the cases in which they don't. For earned rewards, you may have made a good decision and gotten a good outcome, but you can still find worthwhile lessons examining those decisions. Even when you make a good decision, that does not mean that it was the best decision. In fact, it rarely is. Striving to improve means being willing to fight the complacency that can come from the good decision leading to a good result. Don't assume you can't find worthwhile lessons while taking a victory lap. Learning from experience is what allows you to make better decisions as you go along. Resulting keeps you from sharpening the view into your crystal ball, making you a worse predictor of future because you skip lessons you could get from the past, and the insidious cost of resulting is that you don't question your assessment when decision quality and outcome quality align. When that happens, especially when things worked out, your decisions are more likely to remain unexamined. While you just accept your intuition, which tells you nothing to see here. आई थिंक ये लास्ट है, इसमें ये लास्ट सेक्शन है. ओके, दैट इज री एग्जामिनिंग योर बेस्ट एंड रोस्ट डिसीजंस. Go back to what you identified at the start of the book as your best and the worst decisions. How do you feel about those answers now? Has your mind changed? Upon reflection, you see more, upon reflection where they actually your best and the worst decisions free of the influence of resulting. Can you see more clearly how the quality of the outcomes influenced your choice of your best and the worst decisions? Use the space below for the reflection. After reflecting, include other decisions that you might add to consideration of best and worst. Resulting makes us lack confession for ourselves and others. When someone has a bad outcome in their life, we judge their decision making as poor because of resulting. That makes it easy to blame them for the way things turned out. No need to have compassion because the outcome was their fault. And it's not just other people. We lack self compassion when we make these connections in our own lives. We beat ourselves off when things don't work out the way we had hoped. For good outcomes, we are not doing anyone a service by potentially overlooking their mistakes. Simply because it worked out, we are definitely voting ourselves, not just in learning, but in assessing our self worth based on how things turned out rather than on whether we made a good decision under the circumstances. भाई साहब ये लास्ट है आई थिंक ये लास्ट होने वाला है ये लास्ट है भाई हाँ ये लास्ट है नहीं और 15 मिनट लगे 15 मिनट अब 15 मिनट ओनली ओके 15 मिनट्स आई टेक ओनली Next is the resulting wrap up. These exercises were designed to get you thinking about the following concepts. The failure resulting. Resulting is the tendency to look at whether a result was good or bad, to figure out whether a decision was good or bad. Next, outcomes. Outcomes cast a shadow over the decision processes, leading you to overlook or distort information about the process, making your view of decision quality fit with outcome quality. In that short term, for any single decision, there is only a loose relationship between the quality of the decision and the quality of the outcome. The two are correlated, but the relationship can take a long time to play out. Luck is what intervenes between your decision and the actual outcome, resulting diminishes your view of the role of law. You can't tell that much about the quality of a decision from a single outcome because of law. When you make a decision, you can rarely guarantee a good outcome or a bad outcome. Instead, the goal is try to choose the option that will lead to the most favorable range of outcomes. Making better decisions starts with learning from experiences, resulting interfaces with that learning, causing you to repeat some low quality decisions and stop making some high quality decisions. It also keeps you from examining good quality, good outcome decisions, as well as bad quality, bad outcomes decisions, which still offer valuable lessons for future decisions. Resulting reduces compassion when it comes to how we treat others and ourselves. Next, the resulting checklist. The there are five checklists. The पहली है how much is the outcome clouding your judgment or someone's judgment you have observed about the quality of the decision. Second, even if bad decision preceded a bad outcome, can you identify some good decisions made along the way? Can you identify some ways in which the process of coming to the decision was good? Even if good decision preceded a good outcome, can you identify some ways the decision could have been better? Can you identify some ways in which the process of coming to the decision could